Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, or maybe whenever you are, watching this. Because some people are joining us live, and I know some people are going to be watching this on replay. My name is Dr. Lola Adeyemo. I am the founder of EQI Mindset, Equity and Inclusion Mindset, focused on workplace inclusion strategies, especially around employee resource groups, employee communities in alignment with business goals, and workplaces that work is a space where we have focused conversations with professionals and experts on different topics that impact workplace culture and employees. And a lot of my guests are B2B professionals and nonprofit founders, impact purposeful leaders that are doing work that really affects the employees and the decisions we made. So, really excited today to have Angela with me to talk about visibility within the organization as well as how it aligns with business strategy. And Angela brings a lot of expertise around marketing, fractional marketing across different organizations, and I know our perspective will be very important. So if you're watching these on replay, all the episodes can be found on the YouTube channel, but you can also check it out on LinkedIn. But I will let Angela introduce herself now. Hi, Angela.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me today. My name's Angela Hill. I'm a fractional CMO, that's a Chief Marketing Officer with Chief Outsiders. I have been working in the marketing and branding space for over 30 years. I started my career working with big brands and big agencies, and I did that for about 11 years in St. Louis, San Francisco, and San Diego, which is where I live now. And then I started my own company 22 years ago, and about 3+ years ago, I carved out the agency piece of my company and sold that. And now I work with B2B companies, typically 5 to 200 million in revenue in the United States, helping them to solve marketing problems like go-to-market strategy, value proposition, MarTech transformation, how to properly use AI in marketing, and quality lead generation. And I'm really excited about today's talk, and I calculated it. At my agency in 20+ years, I've worked with over 700 companies. So I've really seen a lot of different industries and a lot of different sized organizations. And I find it interesting to analyze the patterns and the commonalities
Mhm.
between them to see what can we learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the part that is often missed is the cross industry, cross company, right? And I
Mhm.
think it's relevant to what we're going to talk about because we're talking about within a single organization. But a lot of times people, even within one organization, there's so many things happening in silos
Yep.
across different function, and there is no setup for us to take a look at the entire organization and build a strategy around that. So maybe we'll start with, apart from the number of companies you you have worked with, there's also all of the changes in the
Hmm.
workplace over the last 3 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And so AI, more technology, more
Hmm.
visibility, more access for people within organizations than before. So maybe that's the first question I'll start with. Do you think there's any particular area where people are misdiagnosing right now, or any heavy change or trend that we're seeing now that wasn't there before?
Yeah, the way I describe AI and its impact to the organization is similar to back in the day before we had websites, before we had SEO and AdWords and email marketing and video marketing and social media. There was one way of doing business. And everyone, it's kind of like everyone's playing a game, but everyone knows the rules of the game. And so we can all compete fairly and we can win fairly if we all
Mm-hmm.
understand the rules of engagement. And then the internet came along and it really transformed the way each department and business owners, CEOs thought about how to be more effective in their business.
Mhm.
And now, with the advent of AI, for me, it looks like the same thing all over again. I don't think there will ever be a future state where AI isn't part of a business, part of the strategy, enabling greater productivity and efficiency in each department.
Yeah.
Conversely, maybe creating problems in each department as well, similar to how the internet and software and technology solves some problems and creates new
Right.
problems. I feel like AI is the same thing, and it's not a magic wand that's just going to magically fix everything. It's going to be a tool that we need to be careful and considerate about how we use it,
Mhm.
and it will help, but it will also have unintended consequences. And we don't really know yet what those consequences will be.
Yeah. Everything is still being tested now. Where are the data right now?
Hmm.
I think of marketing though, and I'm curious because I do a lot of traveling, and I'm thinking when I travel, right? Like I Google, where should I eat? What should I do?
Hmm.
Like what are the things nearby? I don't care where the location is, and I care about the rating. I
Yep.
care about what I don't care what if it's on the prime street or whatever. I care about the rating and the review for the business at that
Hmm.
point. So I'm just curious what you've seen as far as, you've been in marketing for a while, and now businesses that are standing out, maybe smaller retail business is what I'm talking about now, that are
Hmm.
standing out now. Is marketing, did marketing used to be just website for people, and now it's more than website? What's been
Well,
the big shift?
back in the day, before the internet, marketing and advertising was the yellow pages
Oh
or a
yeah.
billboard or a
Yeah, that's true.
newspaper ad or a
Mhm.
postcard in the mail.
Right.
And then you came out with the internet, and then all of a sudden, every company had to have a website. And then there was search engine optimization. And then you're optimizing for your Google business listing. And then you need to get positive reviews, and you need to create content for your website that's relevant, interesting, appropriate. What's happening now with AI is we're moving to an and state. So it's search engine optimization and AEO, answer engine optimization. And so on the SEO side, I need to have a well structured website. I need to have a good page title. I need my metadata so that the spiders for the Google search engine will crawl my website and rank it correctly so it comes up in the organic results. And then on the AEO side, if I write a blog post, it needs to be at least 1,800 words or more. It needs to have an FAQ section at the end. If I'm writing a blog post and I'm optimizing it for a chat GPT prompt, I need to mention the prompt and have a quick answer at the beginning. So in the old days, I was writing a blog post to be an authority on a specific topic. Now I just have to organize the blog post in a certain way so that I rank in AEO.
Yes. Yep.
So it's not an either or, it's an and proposition.
Yeah.
And the businesses that are succeeding are the ones that they have their blog post organized correctly. Um, they have good reviews from third parties. So it could be Yelp, it could be Reddit, it could be a Google business review. And then they're posting on social media, but it's a public facing post. So,
Mhm.
let's say it's a B2B company, they're posting on LinkedIn regularly. And it's a combination of all of those things that is then enabling them to come up in the first three search results when you're looking on ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or Gemini, uh, you know, Copilot, Grok, you name it. There's a bazillion different AI. And I think of them as, just fancy search engines. And it's a different
Right.
way of trying to find the information. If you know that and you can employ the right marketing contacts, it's like the wild, wild west, right? There's a gold rush for how do we gain business in this new way of people searching. And what's happening is we're entering this era of zero click, which means people are doing all the research on ChatGPT or an LLM, like an AI search engine like that. And they're never even coming to my website and they've made a decision
Right.
about whether or not they're going to buy from me.
Right.
And that's a little bit scary because as a marketer, then how do I get the data
On those people
to figure out
to
who are the
figure out
people
why.
and how do I put out the right information?
Right.
But conversely, there's some really cool software tools that are coming along that are enabling you to monitor those prompts that people are using to see how do you rank versus your competitor, what's the sentiment analysis for your brand.
Mm,
So if you make the right choices and you have the right tools, you can still
mhm,
succeed. But if you pretend that AI is a fad and you don't need to worry about it, you're going to
mm.
get left behind.
You're gonna get left behind. I love it. And I was thinking, I was telling somebody that as a solopreneur, small business owner, we do a lot of this research on
Yep.
AI now. It's like, I need to do this. What is the best platform? I made a
Hmm.
decision about my CRM from ChatGPT
Yeah.
because I'm able to input like my priorities. Like this is what
Hmm.
I'm looking for. Well, guess what? I might have missed a ton of platforms that maybe they are not being suggested or pushed by ChatGPT, right?
Right. Because they weren't
Well,
optimized for that.
exactly. There
Not
might be
because they're
other.
not good at what they
Not
do.
because they're not good. Exactly. And I thought about that because I ended up talking to other people and hearing about some other platforms that were never suggested to me as top options. And I was able to interview people like, why do you like it? What do you use
Hmm.
about it? Which is very
Hmm.
different from what AI is suggesting. But yeah, so it's a hand thing. I love the way you put it. It's not replacing, is we can use it to supplement whatever we're doing, but it's part of the conversation. Thank you for that. I think the other part of the question that I wanted to ask is when we think of AI and retail, customer focused businesses, right? But also the other part of this, which is maybe, I don't know if you work more with B2B
I
organizations that are
do.
not directly, yeah. So we are in that similar space. And I think this is also a lot of my audience, primarily on LinkedIn. And
Hmm.
so we're talking about companies that are not necessarily um, facing customers every day, but they have a
Yep.
lot of employees. And I think that's where I want to bring the conversation down to, because a lot of time we're so focused on get the customer, what we say to the customer, and we forget the power of the people that we already have inside. And that's
Hmm.
really where I want to spend the time here today, is what are the opportunities to leverage internal talent when it comes to marketing and
Hmm.
business strategy, right? I mean, talent and L&D spaces a lot, having these conversations around retention and growth. But when you think about that space, specifically B2B businesses, is there areas where you think organizations often misdiagnose the issues when it comes to their brand?
Well, I don't know about misdiagnose. I would say perception is reality.
Mhm.
And so when I think about branding, I think about it in two parts. We have the internal brand, and the internal brand is the mission, the vision, the values, the corporate culture. And then you have your external brand. And that's how your customers, your vendors, your partners, your competitors, the public experience your brand. And that could be something like a logo or a website or a blog article or a trade show booth, or it could be one of your employees attending a networking event or the CEO speaking at a conference. Those are all experiences of the external brand. The biggest challenge that most organizations have is they are not aligned between the internal brand and the
And
external brand,
yep.
right? So you've created a corporate culture, you've hired these great people, you've instilled great values, you've got it really dialed in. But then if you fail to successfully communicate that externally, then you're not being authentic as a brand, and you won't attract the ideal customer who has the same values. And
Mhm.
so, what I see a lot of times is that organizations will try to be something they're not, or they'll try to appeal to everybody instead of fully owning, from a value perspective, this is who we are as an organization. This is what we care about, and these are the kind of people that work here. And if you want to work with us and you want to buy from a company that has these values and you have a similar set of values, there's a match here.
Mhm.
But you can't be successful in marketing and advertising that way unless you successfully communicate externally how your brand values get translated. And it's not a one-to-one, right? So I've taught graphic design at San Diego State, and I've taught branding and digital marketing at University of San Diego. And so what I tell my students is, let's look at Disneyland, right? So the old tagline for Disneyland was the happiest place on earth. But when we look at the internal core values for Disney, the focus was on safety, cleanliness, customer service, right? So they don't say, I'm hiring you because your goal is to make everybody happy. They
Mhm.
say, I'm hiring you because our culture and our priorities are safety, uh, cleanliness, and customer service. Those ingredients internally translate into an external happiest place on earth experience for the customer. And so I give this example. Let's say you're a photographer at Disney and you're taking a picture of a mom and a little girl, and you're in front of a lagoon. And you see that the little girl stepped backwards and is about to fall into the lagoon. If your priority and what you've been hired for your corporate culture is on safety, you put your camera down and you run and you try and catch the little girl before she falls in the lagoon. If you've been hired and your priority is happiness, then you try and take the picture as fast as possible before the little girl falls in the lagoon, right? And so I think it's important for organizations to understand, yes, we want to be authentic and transparent, but really your core values are a formula that translate into an external experience that your customers have of your organization. And it doesn't always have to be in a retail environment. It could be something like, I have a prospective customer and they're coming to our office and they interact with the front desk and they're in the waiting room and then they go to the conference room and they get a presentation from our team, or it could be Zoom. I have people that show up on Zoom. Um, are they prepared? Are they organized? Do they understand the problems we're trying to solve? Do they set the tone? Do they respect my time? Is there a follow up? Like that professionalism has a reflection, and there's a subconscious perception that we as buyers place on the value of the organization or the brand based on our experience of the people that work there.
Right.
And so the people that work there have an opportunity to create brand value and build brand equity, or conversely, to negatively impact the brand simply in how they behave when they interact with others on behalf of that brand.
I've never heard internal and external brand simplified and clarified so much than with the example you just gave with Disney. And I think that's one that is easy to relate to it because um, we've also seen and heard about both sides. And
Yep.
so thank you for sharing that example, because that's also kind of I started my career in the biotech space, and
Mhm.
so a lot of we're saving the world. We have the product. A lot of the people there love the product. A lot of the
Yeah.
product is making an impact for the
Mhm.
patients, right? And
Yeah.
and I think part of where the challenge often falls is, you see these big organizations that are making everybody knows about the external because there's emphasis on the product
Yep.
and the impact it's making. But sometimes there's a lot of misalignment with what is going on internally And then
Mhm.
that causes increased turnover and negative experience for people.
Mhm.
But they keep going and they keep developing and, thinking all of this. You can't continue doing that successfully if you don't think of your internal and external. So I really like that. Um, I think I had a couple of other questions that you sort of captured along with what you explained, which is why I just let you go. But where I want to dive in is bring it immediately to employee resource groups. So I do a lot of work with employee resource groups, as you know, which is communities that have been set up, established within the organization. Now,
Mhm.
not every company calls it employee resource group. Um, so I would explain it in a broader terms. These are communities that we hire our employees into roles, functional roles, but then these roles are in silos. So we have marketing,
Yep.
internal, finance, and everybody is hired to do their job, and they come right in and they plug in there. And so a lot of times, then organizations create affinity groups or even special interest groups, something
Mhm.
that builds that cross function. And so maybe that's the question I want to put to you. What are the opportunities that exist for companies to leverage internal communities for their visibility externally? Are there
Mhm.
opportunities to do that, to build internal while building external?
Yeah, so I actually have a really good friend that used to work at Amazon. It's a while ago now. And really cool guy, super smart. And I asked him, what are you doing at Amazon? Because he was an engineer, a chemical engineer. So, bachelor's in mathematics, bachelor's in chemical engineering, master's in chemical engineering, PhD in chemical engineering.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I said, Are you doing
What do
chemical
you do?
engineering at Amazon? Why are you there?" And he goes, "No, I'm in charge of pizza teams." I said, "What's a pizza team?" He said, "Well, my job is to go around the organization, find a problem that needs to be solved, put together a cross-functional group of people from different departments, enough that 2 pizzas can feed, and work on that problem together until we've resolved it, and then I dissolve the group and I find the next problem to solve." And I thought that was so interesting because his focus was on operational excellence,
Mm,
but it wasn't, the COO or the director of operations who was going out and, telling each department what they needed to do. Instead, it was, I see this challenge that is affecting a lot of different departments. I'm
mhm.
going to ask each department for a couple people, and we're going to
Right.
all come together. And they're going to represent their department, and they're going to
Yep.
go back and talk with their department to mobilize or, leverage talent to help solve the problem. And we're going to work on it till the problem is resolved. And I think that's such an interesting way to look at improving operational excellence because it doesn't always have to be, well, everybody, like back in the day when I worked in house, um, I was on a softball team, right? And so was a co-ed softball team, and I, they're like, you should join our softball team. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm okay, but I'm not an amazing athlete. Just want to set the stage right there. And they said, that's okay. We need girls on our team. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Well, we have a lot of guys, but we don't have enough girls. Will you please join the team? And I said, okay. And I joined and I had a great time and I made great friendships. But we don't always have to have a group that's based on, well, I like to play softball, or I like to eat cookies, or I'm
Mhm.
this gender, or I'm this ethnicity. Um, I think it could be something where I'm passionate about solving this kind of problem. I have this talent. I would like to better
I
leverage it
like
in
to
the
use it.
organization.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And I think that's the broader conversation around employee resource groups. Now it's like, you see companies wanting to optimize their groups and fully. we start off with the affinity, the interest, and then we realize these are people that already work at our company. These are people that are passionate people. These are people that already go above and beyond
Mm-hmm.
because they care. How can we
Right.
pair that care with what we as an organization are trying to solve for?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we do that across functions and across hierarchy, which I think is a lot of what stands in the ways for corporate organizations is, the
Mm-hmm.
top down approach of we make all these decisions behind closed doors and then we tell people multiple steps down the road what to do. And then
Mm-hmm.
things get
And if
lost in
they don't
translation.
have visibility into the bigger problem that we're trying to solve,
Yep.
then they don't understand how they contribute to the solution.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that gets lost is the context of
Mhm.
why we're doing what we're
Why?
doing.
Why?
We're not creating this group because I want to single you out based on this one attribute. We've created this group or this project because we're trying to solve this problem. And your ability, you have a unique ability because of your analytical thinking, your creative problem solving, your communication skills, your um, work experience,
Yeah.
your personal connections, whatever it is, like you are a whole individual
Right.
and multiple aspects of who you are come together to help us solve this bigger problem. And we see that you are more uniquely qualified or talented to help us achieve
Then
this result. And that's why we are asking for help.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for that. Okay, so before we wrap up, I like to make this a little bit more actionable, practical for anyone listening that works within an
Mhm.
organization and has maybe responsibility and oversight for deciding what gets set up, what gets done around visibility, internal visibility for talent, for teams.
Mhm.
So, first, explain a little bit about your firm. What do you do? Who do you work with? And then how can people work with you?
Sure. So I work at Chief Outsiders. We are a fractional chief marketing officer and chief strategic and chief sales officer organization. So let's say you are a small to mid-size early enterprise organization and you don't have a dedicated C-suite person focused on marketing or sales, and you can't necessarily afford that resource. You would come to my organization and hire one of us as a strategic operator. So we sit on the leadership team, but we're also hands on working with your internal team to develop and cultivate talent or to help hire someone else. I call it cleaning up, building a foundation, and creating a place for success. So, a lot of times I am brought in to either clean up or build a foundation. I get the organization in a really good place from a sales and marketing engine perspective. And then ideally, I like to cultivate internal talent, teach them the things that they need to know, teach them a different way to think, teach them how to problem solve so that
Mm-hmm.
they can be more successful and impactful in their role. So I can grow that person to take over, so then I
I
transition
can
out.
step back.
Or sometimes I bring in an external person to take over my role, and then I also will mentor them and shadow them for a little while so that there's a good transition.
Yeah. Okay. How can people reach out to you? How can people connect with you if they would like to explore working together?
Yeah, so you can visit the chiefoutsiders.com website and look for my name, Angela Hill, Hill. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can listen to my podcast, which is Summit and Signal, Summit and Signal, Signal.
Thank you, Angela, and thanks for being here today. So let's then wrap this up with two things that organizations should be doing to better align their internal talent with their external visibility uh, as a brand.
Yeah, I would say the best thing that I've been able to see and implement with my clients is we take the core values of the organization and we put those into the performance appraisal. And so
Mhm.
let's say you have 5 core values. there'll be 5 sections of the performance appraisal where the manager, and also I always have the employee do their own performance appraisal. And they write in, this is how I, was able to achieve or support this particular core value in my performance in the past 6 months. And then because I always have the employee also do their own performance appraisal, it's important for them to be able to voice, this is how I see myself, this is how I think I'm performing. And then for the manager to say, well, this is my perspective on your performance. And then let's compare the two, because the reality is somewhere in between the two is the truth, right? The
Okay.
manager doesn't have the truth of your performance, and you as the employee don't have the truth of your performance.
Yeah.
But if you can have an honest and open conversation regarding your strengths and your challenges, you can then put together a performance plan to say, well, this is what I want to achieve over the next 6 months, or these are the things I need to learn, or this is a passion project that I'd like to pursue uh, with a cross-disciplinary group and get permission from leadership to solve this particular problem in the organization that I'm seeing every day. And I think it could help not just me, but a lot of others.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for chatting. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I'm just happy to be here. Thank you so much. I think the conversations that you're having and that you're raising to awareness are so important. So keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. It's been great chatting with you. Marketing simplified is what I call it, because I think marketing, that word, it means different things to different people. And sometimes we need to like break it down. It impacts talent, it impacts brand, talent, and there's a lot of it that has to do with what's happening within the organization culture as well. So workplaces that work require an alignment across all of it, internal, external, talent development. So thank you, Angela, for the work you do, and thank you for chatting with me today. For anyone listening, would love to hear your thoughts, questions. I'll be tracking the chats, and happy to chat if you have any follow-up question. Connect with Angela and myself on LinkedIn, or send an email as well if you have any question. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.